Okay, good morning. Slide 41, or 47, I guess. I think I only have 2 or 3 slides today. So we'll cover development engineers, the guys that create our products and solve customer problems. Take a look up here. Any names or titles that you have not seen before? Be honest.
Wireless engineer.
Okay.
I mean, I have needs out.
Okay. So everybody's feeling pretty good. So enterprise engineering refers to any initiatives targeting corporate environments. What does that mean to you, Dave Muffy?
Like a Salesforce.
Okay. Good. Kevin?
B2B, big companies that are like Cisco.
All right. Eric, what do you think?
That's just them trying to sell their product to bigger people.
Okay. All right. Enterprise is your Fortune 500 company for the most part, right? Not necessarily, but it's usually a company that is delivering to another group of consumers or companies, right? So AT&T, major enterprise company. Qualcomm, another major enterprise company. There are a ton of enterprise companies out there that you have never heard of, right?
This is the shit Visa would buy, man. Enterprise software.
Exactly.
It's a nightmare.
Right? It's old, it's ugly,
Yeah.
but it sure as hell is powerful. Okay? The amount of data that most enterprise systems actually churn on a regular basis is probably orders of magnitude larger than any startup we check out. Enterprise companies really run the United States. There's a lot of manufacturing companies that we work with, like GE, Johnson & Johnson, companies like that. But the enterprise engineering organizations sell products to those companies. They help those companies run, and there's a lot of legacy in those enterprise organizations too. If you look at a company like ADP, who does all of our human payroll and services, if you look at their software, it's probably 8 years old, 7 years old. Just the look and feel of it, right? It doesn't have that very Web 2.0, Facebook-y fun, I love myself feel. But it gets the job done. It gets the job done very well. So, enterprise engineering refers to any initiative targeting corporate environments. So if we look at some of the companies that we reach out to, VMware, very big enterprise company that I think has a lot of good quality engineers. Let's see, who else? IBM, another strong enterprise company. Not the best group of developers that I've ever seen, but they have IBM Alameda Labs, which does all their R&D for new technology. Some great guys in there. Oracle, really a database company, but definitely an enterprise company. I believe 98% of Fortune 500 companies use Oracle databases.
Wow.
If that gives you some idea of how strong Oracle is in the market. Okay. Oracle recruits heavily out of MIT. A lot of good MIT guys there. Don't know if you saw Iron Man, the movie. Oracle's label is everywhere in that movie because Tony Stark went to MIT. And that's basically how they do things. CSS engineer, specific organization within engineering that works on applications relating to content, collaboration, and community. What does that sound like to you guys? Based off of what we've seen earlier, what sort of guy does that sound like?
Facebook engineer.
Okay.
So, yeah, a lot of social networking.
Okay. All right. Everybody? A CSS engineer is your visual front-end guy, right? You call him a web developer. A CSS engineer is not a term that I've actually seen, so we might make an adjustment there.
Are they referring to style sheets?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
So this is something that I likely would not have plugged in here, so we'll probably make a change. Note to Liana. But yeah, this is your person that's going to work with the content on the page. They might write up the web page, right?
Really?
Collaboration with the product team, with the engineers as well too, because you're going to collaborate with the product guys and say, okay, where do we really need to take this? And then, okay, so I can start developing some of the content that's going to go on this page, but I also need to collaborate with the engineering team to make sure that everything's laid out properly. In community, one thing, because of sort of the outbreak of social in the last 4 to 5 years, community management is very important. You'll see a lot of startups that hire one person to do community management in particular, and they'll be tweeting, they'll be writing blog posts, they'll post stuff on Facebook, on LinkedIn, basically just trying to get more users interested in the product by doing some tricky little things. Usually it's a very young, pretty girl that's doing this. I swear 90% of the time. But there's also a lot of guys that are very good at this. And it's very much a marketing position, this community management position. It's marketing, it's product development, a little bit of sales, but sometimes it's also just sort of like customer support and outreach. Okay, a lot of different things you can sort of take from that position.
Do they still code?
No,
No?
not usually.
So
CSS, HTML, maybe.
So they even have like a computer science degree or anything, or they just
Not
code?
necessarily. No, sometimes you'll see this person be like an artist or like an English major,
Okay.
somebody that's not as technical, right? Technically minded. You can usually sort of see that from what they studied in school or what sort of groups and events that they're in. They're usually someone that can do a lot of different things well, or somebody that sort of is on the blend of, you know, being technical but then also very creative and artistic. If that makes sense. I think you know these people, right? The people that could say, I'm having a party this weekend and everybody comes. Right? You probably know these people. These are like your community manager types. Are they your CSS engineer? Maybe not, right? So that you need to have a little bit of technical skills, just a little bit. Okay. Not somebody that we really focus on. It's usually like an 80 to 105K type job, depending on who you are. Like if you're the community type manager or web developer for Twitter, probably pretty well paid. Okay. But if you're like the community manager for some small gaming company down the street, who knows? It might be your first job out of school. Okay. But there's a lot of young guys and gals that are doing this job because they've just been on the web doing social media work for the last 4 or 5 years, and they probably understand it better than somebody who might be 35, 40 years old, just because you were in college and you had nothing better to do but be on Facebook. Okay, client engineering teams that work on software that runs directly on user's device and accesses online services. What does that mean to you guys?
It's the max hire team.
Okay. Yeah. Any other software that you can think of that runs on your computer and doesn't run in the cloud?
Some of the iPhone apps that they run directly on the client.
Yeah. Okay. Remember when you used to buy a video game for your PC, you buy a certain software. Let's say you buy Microsoft Word, right? And you take the disk out and you pop it in, okay? It starts running on your machine, okay? There are larger deployments of this, right? I was mentioning ArcSight earlier as a security company. It's a client-side software, so it's siloed, right? It's on their device or on their machine that they're running. So they have access to online services very much like MaxHire does, right? MaxHire needs to connect to the internet in order to work for you, but it still runs on your machine, right? Does that make sense? So it has access to different online services. ArcSight has access to different online services, but it's going to run on your machine. It's going to take up memory and storage on your machine. It's going to reduce the performance of your machine because it's going to require bandwidth. So client engineering teams are, now it's a little older school, right? It is before some of this cloud and SaaS technology came out. What it does is just sort of means that, they built a software that runs on your machine. Is it a good, strong software? Probably. It's probably very good. It was, the solution before the solutions we have today. Security is usually much higher or stronger on one of these client-side softwares versus in the cloud. There's a lot of skeptics out there about cloud-based technology, whether or not it's safe and secure, whether or not it breaks. Amazon's web services went down. What was it, about 4 months ago? Netflix went down for like 36 hours. It was brutal for Netflix. Right? They were in big trouble, right? But if you had a software on your computer, right? Let's say this: iTunes is a software that runs on your computer. If you were just running a video on that and the internet went down, wouldn't bother you, right? Your video would keep going. But if you're watching a video streaming from Hulu or Netflix, it's very different, newer technology, the internet goes down. Does that make sense to you guys? Wireless engineering, I won't spend too much on this. There's a couple companies that we work with, Juniper Networks, Meraki, any mobile application for cellular phones. Not always the case for wireless networks, right? There's also networks. You know, I think Juniper and Meraki, the two companies I just listed to you, are wireless networking companies. Like, they will come in, stick a fatty unit on the wall, and everybody has wireless internet. Hooray. Okay? We don't need to focus too much on that. That sort of goes back into the blend of like electrical engineering, computer engineering guys. Probably more hardware relevancy than we need to focus on. Okay. The last two, back-end and front-end engineers, are really sort of our wheelhouse. Back-end guys creates back-end server-side logic. Right? Might mean nothing to you whatsoever, but these are the guys that make your systems go. Okay? If I do this, then this should happen, and if this happens, then this should happen. Right? So they're writing all the logic that goes into your system, building your system so that it performs, you know, in the way that you're asking it to. So back-end guys, the guys that you really want to look for, have computer science degrees from a top 25 school. They might also have some sort of mathematics background. Okay, maybe they minored in mathematics. Probably a good indication that these guys just think the way we want them to think inside of a software organization. Okay, have they been working with algorithms? Have they been designing and building different systems? At what level does that system fall over? Okay, what kind of load can it handle? You know, how are we caching the data? How much data should we be putting in there? How much data should we be sending back? These are the guys that really think about the internal workings of your system, okay, and how it's going to perform when you're not even paying attention to it. These are the guys that make, you know, your Facebook, your Twitter work, and you'll never know who they are. Okay? They are on the back end. They're behind closed doors.
They're like the SEAL team.
They're like the SEAL team. Okay? But the back-end guys are usually the strongest developers. These are the guys that we like to focus on. Okay? These are the guys that build the really cool stuff. Okay? The front-end guys are also cool too. Front-end guys give us the look and feel that we really crave with our web pages, with our favorite online communities. But they also do some of the very cool things that we can do in the browser now. Okay? If we sort of take a look at, you know, Chrome, right? Google Chrome, the new web browser. There's so many cool things that are being done in the browser nowadays that these front-end guys are really having a field day, right? So the JavaScript language has been around for about 8-9 years, maybe actually closer to a dozen years. But not until recently have we really sort of tapped into front-end technologies and pushed it to the server side, right? So now there's a lot of cool widgets and tools and pop-ups that are being built into browsers, okay? Because a lot of people are moving away from desktop. You know, Google came out with a web-based laptop that only ran on web-based software. Okay, there was nothing you could actually download onto the computer at all. You could only use Google Docs, you could use the web, you could use Spotify, you know, you could use Pandora. Think about all the technologies that you might use in your day-to-day basis that are really only web-based. Netflix, Hulu, Pandora, Spotify, any SaaS service that you might use, DocuSign, Mint.com, okay? All these are web-based. Very cool stuff. Really gives front-end guys the opportunity to step up their ball game and really sort of fit in with these guys as equals, okay? For now, I would say the back-end guys are, you know, the ones we really want. Front-end guys are a little bit harder to find sometimes, but there's going to be a lot more of them sort of coming up soon. If you start looking at college students, the way they sort of have access to new tech now, just because of the open source communities, you know, there's so much new technology that's out there. It's kind of hard for you to get, I guess, an infrastructure to build strong back-end systems on. So you see a lot of college students doing mobile development, you know, in Objective-C. They're doing Ruby on Rails because they can quickly architect some sort of web page or some sort of application with it. You see them to be very good with HTML5, which has a lot of cool browser functionality. You can put audio into the browser now. I spoke with a guy yesterday who built a music player in the browser. So then you automatically can take your music with you no matter what computer you're on, just through the browser. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. So front-end guys, create presentation to your code. You're presenting it to the consumer. It's what you're going to see, it's what you're going to notice, it's what you're going to be clicking on. Good stuff. You guys have any questions about that? Anything you want me to go over on these guys here? No? Okay. Production engineers. So these are the guys that we started talking about a little bit earlier. The guys that keep your products and applications working, right? So if you have, imagine you have 2 kids, right? What do you need them to keep going? Like you need a teacher, you need a babysitter, you need a mom, right? These guys sort of fit into those categories, right? So if your software is your baby, right? You want to have someone make sure that they're released out into the world as a man or as a woman, right? So engineers that handle the transition and process of releasing a product or handling updates in the back end. So a software will go through various testing cycles, right? It'll be grilled by your main QAs. They'll start putting automation cases in to make sure that any sort of testing that they do becomes more efficient just by putting in an automation script. You know what that means, right? So, okay, I want you to test this for that. And so currently I'm writing in the test script and I'm coding it out. Now I've written up 10 different test scripts that I want, but I don't want to have to write those up every time. Okay, so I'm just going to automate that system. Okay, very easy to do. Yeah, but the release guys are sort of at the end of that testing phase, right? They make sure that all the testing's been done. They want to make sure that the product's going to work, and then they're going to allow for a release. Okay? So it's usually on a software, right? Something that has a lot of back-end logic. Those would be the release guys. Site reliability engineer. Engineers that make sure things are working right now. They ensure the information pushed through is valid and that the sites are always reliable. Your web page. If you have a very consumer-facing web page, which a lot of people are clicking on, Amazon, for example, right? Amazon is a page that people are on all the time. They're just constantly looking, clicking. Oh, I don't like that. I'm going to go back. I'm going to check this out. There's just a lot of testing that needs to be done to make sure that stuff doesn't break. I'm sure you've been on Amazon a couple times and hit the back feature, and it won't go through. And it just says like error, could not find page.
Yeah, what does it mean when it says like application that has like a backslash? You know what I'm talking about? It's like a white page with red letters. You know what I'm talking about? It's like application.
Like a 404 error?
Yeah, I know what that is, but there's like another one that's like different kind of error. I was wondering.
I don't know which that one is. Find it, show me, and I'll let you know. Yeah, so this is a position we do not do search for, so I can't tell you too much about it, except what I probably told you already. They just want to make sure the site's up and running, 24/7, 365. If they don't have that site up and running, it's usually their fault. Okay, but there's also a bunch of guys that work with them. There's probably black box testers that are going around and clicking the page in a bunch of different places, making sure links and different things are working. But yeah, it's just make sure that the content's up to date. Okay, so they'll probably work with the CSS guy or the web developer. They'll probably work with the testing team to make sure that nothing's breaking. They'll probably also work with the product guys to make sure that all the content is what they really want up there and that it's in the right places. Okay, so you're sort of just the supervisor for the web page. You're the babysitter. You don't have a lot of input. You're not the mom. You're not actually like saying you need to do this, you need to do this, right? You're the babysitter saying, come on, let's go over here. Come on, we need to do this, right? So, and then you have ops, right? Operations handles all regarding production systems. Okay? For example, an ops request would be submitted in order to get a server machine resources for a given product. You guys know what that means? Jim?
I think if you need more infrastructure, then this is the guy that figures out what kind of server to get, what kind of processor to put in, how to integrate it into the other boxes.
Yeah.
So.
Jim's got it. Guys, anybody else elaborate on that point a little bit? No? Okay. So, Jim did a good job with this. let's say I'm Google. I have 1 million machines that is running our entire infrastructure, right? The Android team comes to me and says, Anthony, king of all ops, hail to thee. I need 30 machines to run this Android product. Why do you need 30 machines? Oh, because we're putting out this much. I notice that these machines have this particular i8 processor, quad core. I'm all about it. It's got flash technology for storage. I want that. Well, I can't give you 30 machines. That's just going to hurt us too bad. I can give you 25. Okay? And I'm going to allocate you on this machine, this machine, this machine. Okay? So that ops guy is handling mainly the hardware requests. Okay? Mainly a lot of the site reliability requests. Okay? It's not handling much release here. He's the king in the castle saying, like, these are my machines, and you only get to use so many of them. Okay? Why do you need so many of them? What sort of information are you going to be storing on these machines? Okay? What sort of production systems do we actually create for these machines to make sure that your Android system is working properly? Okay? Does that make sense to you guys, how that sort of works? Okay? All your information runs on these machines, like in farms and Kentucky and Timbuktu. So, it's all stored there, right? And there's 1 or 2 guys that just handle that entire thing. Just like electricians used to handle an electrical grid in the same way. Okay? There used to be 2 or 3 electrical engineers who would handle an electrical grid that would probably operate half your state. Okay? Those guys flip 2 or 3 switches in the wrong place, your state goes down. Okay? Very similar case here. Those ops guys walk into one of those server rooms, take a bat, and just go boom. Google's going down. Okay? Make sense here? We don't touch a lot of these guys. Okay? If you see them, make a list, save them. You will have a client come to you and say, I need a release guy. Okay? Doesn't hurt to have 10 saved up. Every big company has 2 or 3. Okay? Testing and QA engineers. They determine that the developed performs accurately. Determines that developed performs accurately. We're going to work on that sentence. Too many D's in there. Testing and QA, right? You build a product, you want to make sure it works. Okay? If you're building a children's playground, you probably don't want to send kids on it before you start testing it out for yourself. Okay? Quality assurance engineers are engineers who test the quality of the binaries and programs that are developed and released. So if I'm, you're the last line of defense. You're not necessarily the most important guy on the team, okay? But you are a person that is going to get a lot of weight thrown on them if you're not capable of testing the machine, testing the software properly. A QA's job is to break software, to do whatever it takes to break this. Okay. I was having a conversation with this guy the other day, and he was, they were just coming through their software. They have their major release coming up in November, and so they just put out the beta version of their product. Take it to the tester, Miss Daphne, break the hell out of it. She says, "Go, give me 3 days." So she goes clicking on different things, sending in different types of queries, sending in 10 queries at once, okay? Trying to break the system as much as possible. Where will this thing fall over is the QA's job, okay? And where do we need to accurately troubleshoot and sort of enhance the system to make sure that it performs, okay? Now, there are 2 types of QA, okay? There are black box and there are white box. Black box QA engineers you will not speak with. Okay? Black box Q&A engineers will take the web page and the software, and they'll look at it and they'll click across the page. Where is this going to break? I'm hoping that it'll break at some point or another. Just click, 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 click. Right? They don't do any development, right? They're not coding. They're not writing test suites. They're not creating automation suites. That's what the white box testers do. Okay? But the white box and the gray box guys, okay, are the guys who can code. They are engineers who work in test. And there are guys that like test, right? They love the idea of just breaking the software. Okay, it doesn't mean they're malicious people. It might, but these are the guys that we want to chat with. Okay, there's a couple of our clients right now that have a huge need for QA engineers, but not black box guys, right? So if you can distinguish, somebody asks you, oh, we need 2 or 3 QAs. You say, I'm assuming white box engineers. They'd be like, oh yes, I'm assuming white box engineers. Because we do not place black box engineers. They are not developers. They are not engineers. I hate to say this, but they are most likely the guys that didn't do that well in the computer science program in school. Okay? Or they're lazy. Okay? These are not the guys, most oftentimes, that are highly ambitious, made for startups, the people that we're looking for. Okay? But there are very good white box QA engineers.
And
very
gray
good.
box?
Gray box is sort of just a blend. I can't tell you too much about gray box. All I know is that you can't code, can't chat with you.